A very good morning to all of you. I feel very honored to stand in front of you. Standing in front of you reminds me of your age, in my days, in my native. I had the same questions in your mind, what you have now, same dreams, same non-clarity, but honestly, I didn't have any clear answers. And therefore, I'm not going to give you an answer today because there is no fit one answer for a success. But what I'm going to do today is to share some points which inspired me, which acted as a good impetus for me in my life journey. So like how it was introduced, I hail from a place called Madurai in Tamil Nadu. So back in those days, our childhood was not very comfortable like what we have these days. We didn't have very sophisticated coaching centers. We didn't have many sophisticated gadgets and tools that we have right now. But we had one thing for sure, which is very powerful, the hunger. By hunger, I mean the hunger which made us to lift up our living standards. When I lived in my childhood in a place called Madurai, our house was one among the four within a small compound where we need to share with 4 to 5 other families with some common utilities. So we had that urge to lift up our living standards, and that was one hunger. So the first thing what I would like to ask young boys and girls here is, how many of you have this hunger? The hunger to lift up, the hunger to make your life meaningful. Right? So let's dwell upon a little deeper on what it is. I see some good hands going up, very nice to see. So what do we mean by this hunger? How determined are we? Once you are very clear with this hunger and once you have this determination, you are already on an autopilot mode. Right? So let me dwell upon this. Let me share a small story that made a lot of difference to my own perception about life. I read the story in the book called Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David. This is a true story. Yeah. So there is a young lady who lost her husband, unfortunately, and she's left out with a 2-year-old son. So she becomes a single mother, having the responsibility to raise this child up. Now, the guy who died, he left a retail store. That's the only bread and butter for this lady to bring up. So she has to run the retail store. She has to support this kid, raise up, and have the daily living. Unfortunately, 3 months after her husband died, she was diagnosed with cancer. So now she has many challenges in life. She needs to bring up her son. She needs to do the daily living by running the retail store. On top of all, she needs to fight death by fighting this disease called cancer. So life began in a different mode for her. So what did she do? She went through various surgical interventions by her doctor, and every time the doctor kept the same thing, saying the same thing. You have few more months to live. A few more months to live. She heard that through. This few more months added up. It ended up as 20 years. She had only one dream. She wanted to see her son graduate. She wanted her son to take a degree and pass out. 20 years passed by. She attends the graduation day. She sees her son graduate. 6 weeks later, she dies. Boys and girls, this is not a cooked up story. This is a true story. This is in the book Magic of Thinking Big. And the lady's name is given as Mrs. D, some part of the USA. This story made a true difference in my life. When I was handling the sales head role in Maharashtra and Gujarat, we had huge struggles in making our inroads with our products. But I was very proud to see that in 2.5 years' time, we increased market share by 3.5% there. So the point what I'm trying to tell here is, do we have the hunger to make a difference? Ask yourself. This is a strong question, and if you want to make a meaningful life out of yours, if you want to redefine what your life is, ask this question. And if you have the determination, you are on an autopilot mode. Because if the human mind is determined, you can cross boundaries. It can go boundless. It can make magics in your life. So this is the first lesson which I learned. I thought I'd share it with you. Number one. Okay, now let's say that we have this determination. I have this goal. I have a strong dream. We're talking about the dream similar to what Dr. Abdul Kalam told us, right? So many of you would have wrote. He tells that the dream is not the one what comes in your sleep. The dream that does not allow you to sleep. The dream that makes you get up in the morning very energetically, right? So let's say that you've got that dream, you've got the determination now. What next? What is that next factor that is going to come as a roadblock? In many of our minds, it is there. The fear factor, right? What is the fear factor? It's success or failure. I know I have this goal, but if I take a step, is it going to be successful or is it going to be a failure, right? So let's dwell on this point. I'm again taking a quote which is known to all of us. We all have heard that Thomas Alva Edison, he invented the electric bulb, right? And you would have heard from your parents or your friends saying that Edison found or failed 1,000 times or 10,000 times before he found out the electric bulb. Right? I don't know 10,000 times is true or not, but let's say he failed 1,000 times. And it's not that he was working in his garage. He had a team with him. He was working in a R&D lab in New Jersey somewhere. This is in 1856. So people very motivatingly, they quote this saying that Edison did not fail 1,000 times. He found 1,000 ways of not doing or not making an electric bulb, right? We have heard this. Very motivating. Let's keep it aside a little. Now just think through, reflect deeper. What would have happened when Edison failed the 10th time? What would have happened when he failed the 20th time? When he failed the 100th time? He had a team. He is not just running the experiments. There are people with him running the experiments. They ran experiments with filaments, bamboo, paper, cloth, which can glow, right? So that was the invention that we're trying to crack. That can glow for 1,000 hours so that they can give a very solid solution for people to have an electric bulb. 1,000 material they tried, they failed. But if I reflect into his mind right now, I think Edison had a very beautiful way of looking at life. He didn't see failure as opposite to success. He saw failure as a stepping stone to success. Because every material that failed to glow, he very clearly ticked saying that, okay, this is a gate which is closed, I need to step aside and go to the next gate, and the next gate, and the next gate. And if I'm right, I think he enjoyed this journey. So he was not having the fear of failure, rather he has embraced failure. So boys and girls, what I'm trying to say is, if you want to go success, don't hate failure, rather don't fear failure. What you need to do is, you don't have to be aiming flawlessness. You need to be fearless towards failure. Because only when you embrace failure, when you know how to get up stronger, faster, and run faster, you will be able to move towards success. That's what Edison has taught us. This is a very good reflection in my life, I have seen. The failures what I have encountered in my journey, in my career, are immense. But every time in our organization also we say this. We call our organization as a learning organization. We have recurrence prevention as a way of life in our company. So we don't say first time right. We don't encourage people to be first time right. We say recurrence prevention, which means you have one chance to fail and learn, but don't miss the lesson out of it. This is the principle that we preach, and I think this has been a very great inspiration for people like us in our organization. Right, so nice picture, right? I'll tell you what it means. So first, let's say, okay, we have got the dream, you're determined, you have the hunger. Now we have understood that failures are not going to be roadblocks for success, rather stepping stones. Now what? Can I blindfold myself and step into something saying that I'm not going to fear failure? Won't make sense, right? What will give you confidence in facing a failure? Sorry? Preparation. Good. One thing what I've learned in my life is being curious, being inquisitive, and not stopping to learn or not stopping to ask questions. So let me take a small episode in my own life. This is 20 years back when I was actually outgrowing my size. I wanted to bring my body weight under control. I did a lot of fitness tricks, nothing worked. Not even 100 grams I was able to reduce. So that's the time I decided to understand the science behind what makes up for the body weight. I understood about calories, I understood about what exercises burn what calories, what food gets what calories. I understood some interesting facts like negative calorie food. The more you eat them, the more you burn energy. Because body needs more energy to digest them than the energy that it releases after digestion. And things like your glucose level and the insulin levels in your blood. Morning times are good to your fitness because the insulin levels are low. So many such facts I was able to understand. Then I was able to put them into practice. Then I started to see the needle moving. So your knowledge, your thirst for knowledge, your inquisitiveness is going to help you make a change. In fact, this is one of the important points that will help you overcome the fear. Once you decide this is a subject I need to know, have a resolve that you are going to be an authority in this space. Nobody else, at least in your circle, should know more than what you know in this subject. If you have that resolve, I'm telling you, life will be interesting. I have seen subjects becoming very passionate for us, which were very boring for us earlier when you deep dive. You deep dive, you understand, the devil is in the details, you understand it, you will become passionate by yourself. You will see that magic happening for you. I have seen it myself. I'm sharing it here. Right? So, this third one, what we saw. Now we have got a dream, you have got a determination. You know that failure is not going to be an opposite of success, and you are inquisitive. You know what to do. Now what? The rubber hits the road, right? So it's a time of doing things. Now it is time for you to make this into a habit. Habit means it's a daily routine. We call it as a daily management in our organization. By daily means, I don't mean a daily routine. It could be a weekly routine, it could be a monthly routine. But it's part of your habits. Once you inculcate this, then I think you are set on the path towards success. So the fitness episode, what I talked about a while ago, taught me a lot of things. It very clearly taught me what discipline, what daily discipline can bring in. And I could understand that it is not the of late, I think showing off and talent are overrated now. But what is underrated is showing up. Showing up every single day with your routine and discipline is what is underrated. But that's what is going to make the difference. A motivational speech like this may make a start, but it's the discipline that's going to keep you going. So it's the discipline, it's the daily grid. So a short summary of what we saw just now. We talked about, do we really have the hunger? Are you fearless? Ask the question. Be inquisitive, be curious. Don't stop asking questions. Actually, with all the gadgets and the digital tools what we have, what we need to master ourselves is to ask the right questions. You ask the right question to your AI, then you kind of increase your knowledge, improve your knowledge, right? And finally, we talked about showing up every single day, the discipline making a difference. I wanted to add a couple of more points which is important at this context before I close. This is one of the biggest elements that I've learned as a part of success. Making reading a habit, a life habit, right? Now, I can hear many mind voices saying that, you're talking about book reading, sir? Book that has physical pages? We are in digital era. Don't be a boomer uncle. Don't ask us to read books, right? Now, let me take a while to explain this here. I'm not talking about a physical book being read day in and day out. I do understand. Let me quote a small incident here. I grew up in Madurai. I call my father Appa, and if I agree with my Appa, I say that Sari Appa. And my father corrected me. It's not Sari Appa, it's Saringa Appa. The Inga stands for respect, right? So he guides me like that. So we grew up like that. My daughter calls me bro now. Okay, bro. So I understand the gaps in the generation and the preferences of the latest generation. So the point what I'm trying to drive here is when I say book reading, there are a lot of things that keeps your book reading habit very interesting. There are audiobooks. I don't know, many of you know, there is an app called Google LLM. You can try it, it's very free. It's a free app. You can upload a PDF and the app converts that into a podcast. You will see the contents of the book being discussed between two human beings as a conversation, which makes it very interesting for you to understand the contents of the book. So make life interesting as much as possible with your innovative thinkings. There is no boundary to it. But the core principles what you have, try to adhere. It'll definitely help you in your life. Last point, go around the world, conquer all, get all the knowledge what you have, come back here. Come back here and be a part of a great nation building. Our nation is in a growth path. I don't know how many of you are aware, we are number 4 in economy in the world with 4 trillion economy. China is at 17 trillion, which is the same population, but the economy is almost like 5 times, 6 times. India in the next 20 years, 2 decades, it's going to be in that path. We are going to be there. So you can imagine what's the growth this country is going to have. And it needs great minds like you who can make a great difference. So be a part of this great nation building. Come back, build this nation. Let us have a beautiful 100th Independence Day celebration in 2047. I am sure by then, this country is going to be one of the strongest in this planet. So with that closing remark, I would request one more point. Tonight, if you take the speech forward, take a few minutes to understand what is your hunger, write it down, and answer this question, do I have the hunger in me? Life will be beautiful, right? So with that, thank you so much for this opportunity. I wish you all the best. Jai Hind.